You'll transfer the funds by tomorrow morning, Brittany snapped, flinging my checkbook onto the table like it was trash. Trent loomed closer, his breath sour with whiskey and arrogance. Don't mess this up, old lady. Or you'll wish you hadn't. I blinked, not out of fear, but with a sudden, sharp clarity. This was my daughter, the girl I raised on late-night shifts and homemade stews. Now, she stood in my kitchen, extorting me like a debt collector. If you really cared about me, Brittany said, her voice cold as steel, you'd do this. Otherwise, maybe it's time you found somewhere else to live. I smiled. Not because I was entertained, but because I held a secret they didn't. They thought I'd fold. As always, drain my savings, sell my car, cash out my retirement. They saw me as frail, isolated, predictable. But I'd been preparing for this longer than they'd been scheming. And what they'd just unleashed wasn't guilt, it was a fight. 2 weeks earlier, Brittany had invited me to lunch, cloaked in a pretense of affection. The cafe was chic, with glossy tiles, glass walls, and waiters in sleek black aprons, a place that made me feel out of place for ordering coffee. We've been thinking, she said, stirring her drink with slow, calculated swirls. We need to discuss your estate. I smiled, naive, thinking she wanted to mend the distance between us, to reconnect after years of drift. Maybe my daughter finally saw me. Then Trent arrived, mid-salad, blaming traffic and smirking as he kissed her cheek. Hope you didn't order anything too pricey. Mom, the truth spilled out, polished and deliberate. That big house isn't practical anymore, Brittany said. Downsizing could unlock a lot of equity. A win for everyone. I watched her fold her napkin with precision, as if she hadn't just suggested I shrink my life to fit their plans. A condo would be easier elevators, no lawn to mow. More freedom for them to access my accounts, fewer barriers to my money. Trent chimed in, his grin sharp. It's not about cash, it's about your safety. That fall last year, remember? My grip tightened on my glass. Yes, I remembered balancing your tax mess with a sprained wrist. That silenced him briefly. Then Brittany flashed her perfect smile. We just want what's best. Especially with new investment opportunities, there it was, the real motive. I saw them clearly for the first time, their calculated charm. The news tightening. They weren't here to simplify my life. They wanted to erase me, prune me down until I was small, quiet, and useful. I sipped my coffee, nodded. I'll think about it, they grinned, thinking they'd won. I was thinking about how quickly a daughter forgets who funded her second IVF attempt. How a kitchen becomes a battlefield when the child you cradled turns predator. I paid the bill, left without a word, and didn't look back. They'd bled me dry before, that wasn't new. What was new was their brazenness, no longer bothering to feign remorse. I'd co-signed their first mortgage, and when they missed payments, I sold my car to cover it. Trent called it a small slip, Brittany said. You're retired, what do you need credit for? When the IRS chased them for back taxes, I paid $11,000 for $100 to keep them free. You're great with numbers, Mom, Brittany chirped. This probably feels like nothing to you. Then the IVF for rounds. $42,000, not a single thank you. Just a text, didn't work. Can you Venmo the next round by Friday? I told myself they were under pressure, that they'd grow into better people. But 2 days after that lunch, they showed up uninvited. Brittany, all fake concern and heavy eyeliner. Sorry, Mom, it's reckless to sit on all that cash. You don't even enjoy it. Before I could respond, Trent dropped the bomb. You owe us, not ask, demanded. I stared, stunned. You helped strangers for 30 years at your job, he said, arms crossed, but never really supported your daughter. That's when it broke, not loudly, not dramatically, but with a quiet, final snap. I stood, walked to the sink, let cold water run over my hands to anchor myself. They didn't follow. Brittany kept talking, oblivious. You haunt that house like a ghost. We could flip it, rent it out, use the money wisely, and if I say no, I asked, voice steady. Trent didn't hesitate. We'll talk to Alan, get legal advice. Maybe we should manage your estate for you, the threat landed, implying I was too frail to control what I'd built. Brittany smirked. You're not getting any sharper, Mom. That cut deep. I nodded slowly. Okay, give me time. They left, smug. But I wasn't stalling to consider their delay. I was preparing to outmaneuver them. I was done calling it love. The next morning, I called Gina, my former protege turned private investigator. She answered on the second ring, no pleasantries needed. I need a file on Trent Davidson, my daughter's husband, I said quietly. Everything you can find. She didn't ask why. 3 days, she said. Use a burner number. No email, that's Gina, quick, cautious, exact. I didn't mention their ultimatum, the fake warmth, or Trent's threat to seize my estate. She didn't need the details. By day 2, she sent a secure link labeled Davidson Financials. I opened it in the basement while Brittany was upstairs, organizing my kitchen, really just tossing out what she didn't want. The file showed account screenshots, offshore transfers, cash buys for high-end tech. One entry froze me, a recurring Venmo payment labeled cleaning service, $500 weekly. From Brittany to someone named JS, they didn't have a cleaner. I scrubbed my own floors. Attached was an address, Unit 10B, Parkwood Lofts. My pulse quickened. I'd seen Trent's car in that garage last winter, when he claimed he was at a client lunch. I'd ignored it then, but Gina hadn't. She flagged the lease, Unit 10B. Rented by Trent, $3,600 a month. Emergency contact, Karina B., not Brittany. My throat tightened, but my hands stayed steady. The file included photos. Trent holding the lobby door for a woman with manicured nails, auburn hair, and a smile that screamed familiarity. I closed the file. Brittany was still upstairs, humming as she rearranged my spices. I slipped into the laundry room, shut the door, and exhaled. So this was their game. The money grab wasn't about survival, it was about funding Trent's double life. One Brittany likely didn't suspect. I texted Gina one word, continue. I wasn't just shielding my assets, now I was exposing betrayal. I had to see it myself. The next day, I drove to Parkwood Lofts as Evelyn Homan, prospective beer, in a beige cardigan and sensible shoes, clutching fake paperwork. The leasing manager, mid-30s, drenched in perfume, greeted me like an old friend. We've got studios opening soon, she said, all smiles. Some tenants are moving out. I kept my tone light. Is Unit 10B available? She checked her screen. No, that's Trent Davidson's. He's been here a while. Always pays on time, very polite. I raised an eyebrow. He doesn't live there, does he? She laughed, leaning in like we were swapping secrets. Oh, no, it's for his fiancée. Gorgeous designer, always in heels, nails like a movie star. Fiancée. The word hit like a brick, but I kept my face neutral. She sounds fabulous, I said. Oh, she is. He's lucky, stops by a few nights a week with wine. Take out, real romantic. My hand stayed calm in my lap. My heart didn't. Can I take a brochure? I asked, sweet as pie. She handed me one with her card. I left, sat in my car in the parking garage, staring at the mirrored windows and security cameras. It wasn't proof yet, but it was a fracture I could exploit. Karina B. A name to trace, a pattern to map. I thought of Brittany at home, folding my linens like she owned the place, and Trent strutting through my kitchen like it was his. I thought of the IVF I funded while he bankrolled his mistress's rent. I drove home, parked, smiled when Brittany offered tea. No, thanks, dear, I said. Just need a rest, but first. I created a new folder on my laptop. Davidson. Trent known assets, subfolder, Karina. Revenge wasn't my goal, protection was. I wanted Brittany safe, even if she didn't know she needed saving from the man draining her trust. and living a parallel life. Most of all, I wanted their manipulation disguised as family care to end. I approached it like an audit, secure my assets, verify their deceit, build a paper trail strong enough for court. I called Alan, my estate attorney of 18 years, the one Trent assumed I'd forgotten. Alan, I need everything moved into a protected trust, quietly, I said, and I want every financial tie to Brittany. And Trent tracked. He cleared his schedule. The next day, he sent a revised trust irrevocable, with an independent trustee, untouchable by Brittany or any relative. We transferred everything, stocks, bonds, the house, even the antique piano. Then Gina sent another file, making it almost too easy. She dug deeper, untangling Trent's shell companies and looped transactions. The Venmo payments traced to a PayPal account, Karina's Closet, a luxury resale boutique owned by Karina Bellingham. Trent wasn't just covering her rent, he was funding her inventory, designer bags, shoes, jewelry, all paid with my money. One transaction stood out, $9,800, routed through Brittany's joint account from my quarterly payout. Labeled emergency home repair, dated 3 years ago. I remembered Brittany's tearful call about a burst pipe, how they'd lose their home without immediate help. I sent the money without question. Karina's boutique opened that week. I stared at my desk. This wasn't just betrayal, it was theft, deliberate and calculated. Brittany was either too blind or too broken to see it, but I could stop it. I wasn't just building a defense, I was crafting an exit strategy, one only I could unlock. And when I did, they'd lose more than access, they'd lose everything. The next morning, Brittany arrived with croissants, coffee, and a folder thick enough to choke a horse. "Don't look so grim, Mom," she said, kissing my cheek like we were fine. "Just some estate clean up." She slid the folder across my table like it was a gift. "Alan says it's smart to streamline now. Before anything happens." I opened it carefully, masking my reaction. On top, a power of attorney form, then a beneficiary transfer and a medical directive documents, designed to strip me bare while I still breathed. I looked at her, sipping her coffee, scrolling her phone like we were planning a picnic. "I don't understand," I said softly. "We set this up with Alan years ago." She laughed lightly. "Yeah, but Trent's friend reviewed it and found a quicker way, less hassle if something goes wrong. Something. Not death or illness, just something." She nudged the folder closer. "This gives us flexibility. You'd still have access, would I? Or would I be locked out, my name erased, my signature buried?" The notary line was blank, but the witness lines were filled. Trent's name and a stranger's, likely one of his cronies. I smiled faintly. "Of course. I'll read it carefully." "Old habits." She nodded, pleased. "Just don't wait too long. The condo deal's time sensitive, and Trent's arranging a bridge loan. Once this is done, we're set. That's what she called gutting my life's work to prop up their lies." She hugged me tightly as she left, her perfume lingering like deceit. I took the folder to Alan. He flipped through it, his face tight with the kind of contempt reserved for shady contracts. "We're not signing this," he said. "Good." I was done being their bank. That night, I couldn't fake it anymore. The calm I'd worn all day slipped when the house went silent. Just me, the hum of the fridge, and a home hollowed out by betrayal. I pulled out an old photo album, wrapped a blanket around me like a shield. First page, Brittany's 3rd birthday. Paper crown tilted, frosting on her nose. Her tiny hand in mine, clutching a balloon. "You're my hero," she'd said, clear as day. I believed her then. I flipped through Halloween costumes, scraped knees. Her graduation, her wedding. Clutching my arm in lace like I was her anchor. Then I thought of now, forged papers, her calculated tone. Trent's cruelty, her standing by, smiling through it. My chest burned, not just pain, but grief, raw and loud. I cried, not softly but with the kind of sobs I hadn't felt since packing my husband's clothes into boxes I never reopened. It hit me, how far we'd fallen, how much I'd given, how they'd repaid me with threats and silence. Worst of all, Trent's betrayal of her, their affair, the siphoned money, the lies she hadn't seen. I'd watched my daughter vanish into his shadow, and now she was handing me over like excess baggage. I was furious, but beneath it, I still loved her. God help me, I wanted to shield her, even from him, even from herself. I sat in the dark, a candle flickering, coffee cold. Slowly, the last thread of hope unraveled. The girl with the frosting smile was gone. Something was ending inside me, in this house. I didn't know how, but it would end soon. 2 days later, I called Brittany. "I've been thinking," I said, letting my voice waver. "You're right. Let's finalize the asset transfers. Can you and Trent meet me Thursday afternoon?" Her response was quick, eager. "We'll make it work." I booked a private room at the Civic Center neutral ground. A table for chairs and space for a reckoning. I called Alan. "I'll bring everything." The morning of, I dressed deliberately grey blazer, wedding ring on. A folder in my purse heavy with evidence and betrayal. Alan sat across from me, composed, his briefcase open, files neat. We barely spoke. At 2:07 p.m., Brittany walked in, wearing a dress I'd bought her for a job she never kept. Her smile was tight, expectant. Trent followed, smug, like he'd already won. They brought nothing, no papers, no shame. "Mom," Brittany said, kissing my cheek. "I'm so glad you're doing this." Trent nodded at Alan like he was the boss. I motioned for them to sit. Brittany opened a small notebook with a flourish. "Let's get started," I said. Alan dimmed the lights. I placed my folder on the table, not the trust papers, but the trap, airtight and ready to close. They didn't notice the label. They would. I sat back, hands folded, facing the two people I once thought would carry my legacy. They thought this was their victory lap. It wasn't. It was the start of their unraveling. "Shall we begin?" I asked. Alan powered on a projector. I opened the folder, page by page. Trent leaned in. "You brought everything." "Oh, yes," I said. "Everything." I slid out bank logs, Venmo payments to JS, tied to Karina Bellingham's boutique. Then the lease, Unit 10B, Trent's name, Karina B as emergency contact. Trent shifted. "This is nonsense, is it?" I asked, pressing play. The leasing manager's voice filled the room. "Trent rents 10B for his fiancée. A designer, stunning." Trent's face went pale. His fists clenched. Brittany's smile faltered, her voice shaky. "What is this, Mom?" I didn't answer. I played Gina's recording. Alan laid out the forged power of attorney. Brittany stared, frozen. "You wanted my trust," I said. "Here it is, on record." The silence was crushing. Alan slid out the final document. "Effective immediately," he said. "Ms. Rose and Mr. Davidson are removed as trustees and beneficiaries from Mrs. Evelyn Rose's estate. Due to coercion and fraud." Trent's mouth opened, silent. Brittany's eyes glazed over. Alan continued, "This was filed last night, with a petition to investigate prior disbursements. All assets are under legal protection." Trent stood. "You can't do this." "You did it," I said. I pointed to the forged check, the payments, the affair. "It's all documented," Brittany whispered. "You had us followed." "No," I said. I protected myself. Alan handed them envelopes, court notices, restraining order petitions. Trent laughed, bitter. "You're serious? You forged a check, cheated on my daughter, tried to steal my life," I said. "You didn't just underestimate me. Trent, you forgot who raised her." Brittany looked at me, but I didn't waver. "You wanted control. You got exposure." I stood, smoothed my blazer, and left. Behind me, chairs scraped, a curse, a gasp, the sound of their world collapsing. They came for power. I brought truth. Let them choke on it. By week's end, Brittany left Trent. I didn't ask what happened. But it wasn't quiet. She showed up at my door, eyes puffy, no makeup. I didn't know, she said. I believed her not because she deserved it, but because I saw how she'd clung to him, blind to his lies. He drained our accounts, she said. There's nothing. I gave her water. Let her sit at the table where she'd tried to erase me. I'm not asking for anything, she said. I just had nowhere else to go. I nodded, but didn't reach for her. She moved out the next day, renting a small place near the bookstore where she used to work. I didn't offer money. She didn't ask. Trent didn't fade quietly. Fraud filings tanked his career. 3 clients dropped him in a week. Gina heard his ex-partners might sue for misuse of funds. He emailed me once, "You destroyed everything." I didn't reply. He destroyed himself. Brittany started over. No glamour, no curated couple photos, just quiet work at a cafe. I saw her downtown, serving coffee, unaware of me. Her face held something I hadn't seen in years, truth. It didn't erase her betrayal, but it was a start. Their story of stepping over me to fund their lies ended in that civic center room. The next chapter. That's mine.